Hello everyone, how are you doing? So this week has been all about triggers. It's been more in depth than last week. Last week was very high level and it was just introducing the topic because I do know from experience that anyone that's going through facing a childless lifestyle is going to face triggers. It just seems to be a fact of life, and I think it's to do with the emotions of not having the dream of family, but also the fact that society in general is so geared up to having children and the family and everything like that, that if you fall outside that definition of a family, it can be very isolating. So having that in front of you can trigger those emotions that you experienced when you were told that you weren't, or when you realised that you weren't going to have those children in your family or your life. So be gentle with yourself when you're looking at your triggers, because it can be quite tough. It can be very triggering in itself to look at them and put them under the microscope. But today is all about the tips and the exercise. I don't know whether you've read it yet. So I wrote in my blog about my own personal triggers and how I have 5 incredibly stubborn ones that no matter what work I do on them, just will not bugger off, frankly. And that isn't to say that I feel a failure for still having them. If anything, I almost feel like I should be congratulating myself, because when I first was told that I wouldn't be able to have children, being around people was in itself triggering. I couldn't be around people. There was just something so painful. Probably, if I'm honest with you, it was my own shame around not being able to have a family. And that in itself, because that emotion was so heightened, everything was a trigger. So having only 5, to me, still represents I've got work to do, but it also shows me that you can do it and there is progress that I've made. And if I can do it, then you can do it. It's as simple as that, really. And it's not a question of going through each of them piecemeal. What you'll probably find is if you look back, you will have ones that you found triggering, but actually they've diminished. And that's a good thing. So you need to sort of congratulate yourself as well. And if you're at that very, very early stage, then perhaps now is not the time to be looking at this, because it does require self-analysis. It does require looking at those emotions. And if it's very, very raw, now probably isn't the time. You need to be gentle with yourself and accept that there is a degree of being patient with it, I think. So let's talk about the top tips. So number 1, if you find that you have been triggered by something, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if mine chimed with you or if you've got your own, have an escape plan. So if you know in advance that you're going into something that is going to be very difficult to handle, have an escape plan. For example, I've talked about it before, I have quite a large family and myself and only 2 cousins don't have children. So being in a family environment with the extended family where there's lots of children running around, for me, is very, very difficult. There have been times when I've not felt able to say no, and so I've had to come up with an escape plan to make sure that when I do reach my threshold, I can shuffle off and be comfortable with saying, right, enough's enough, I've got to go now. So that is your first one. That will help you realise that even if it's just to show your face for half an hour is tolerable if you know that you have a way out and you're not trapped. Feeling trapped is the worst one. Number 2, say no. For me, this was a tough little word to use and learn, but in order to keep yourself safe, put yourself at the top of your list and look after yourself with self-care, you're going to have to start learning to say no. It's the boundaries, it's you putting in boundaries in place to tell people what you do and do not find acceptable. And in saying no, what you're saying is actually enough. I can't come to this, or I can't do what you're asking me to do, and actually I'm putting myself first. It can be hard. Practice it. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. There are steps that you can take to make sure that you do it consistently and you're able to do it when push comes to shove. But it's definitely an important one. And then be honest and open. If you're feeling low, if you've been triggered by something and you feel able to, then explain what's happened to the person that's with you. If it's with a family, a friend, a family member or a friend, they should be in a position to hear what you're saying and support you if you have to go, or if you have to have a bit of a meltdown, they should be there in a position to support you. So those are my 3 top tips. Now here's the exercise for if you get caught out unawares, because you can't legislate and plan for every single trigger. I know by my own admission, I was talking yesterday about how there'd been a difficult subject brought up at college where I'm studying to be a counsellor, and you can't legislate for everything, and you can't always run away very quickly. But the acronym to remember is BED, B-E-D. So the first one is to breathe. Often when I've been triggered, I find that I shallow breathe because you can feel the panic and the emotions coming to the surface that you don't really want. You want to keep that mask on. So breathe deeply, count to 10, just centre yourself. Try not to focus in on the emotion that's been triggered, just breathe. Try and breathe through it so that the panic is not suppressed but manageable, because you don't want everything erupting and then you end up with the fear basically afterwards that you've done something socially wrong. Number 2, escape. So have your escape plan. Find an escape plan. Yes, you're going to have to think on your feet, but if there's an escape, use it if that will make you feel better. Don't stay in a situation where you feel you're trapped or you can't be who you need to be in that particular moment. Just escape. Don't even have to explain it if you don't need to. Just get out of there if that's how you feel. And then D, don't explain. Don't feel you have to explain. If you want to explain, then do. But what I find is that I say, right, I'm going to go, and then I will explain later when the emotions have been released in a safe place where I feel able to, and I'm able to explain in a logical, thought-out way without the emotions. And obviously don't blame anybody for it. The worst thing you can do is say, well, it's because of you that this happened. Just sort of say, look, sorry, the situation wasn't good for me, I had to go. If they're a friend, if they're a good family member, they will understand once you explain it to them in an honest way without the emotions or the blame. And then if it comes to it, go to bed. BED, bed. Sometimes I've had days where I'm just like, sod this. It's been a rotten, grotty day. I'm done with it. I'm drawing a line under it. I'll go to bed, I'll read. If I can't read, because that is the ultimate escapism for me, if I can't read, I'll go to sleep. If I've had that shitty a day, I would just call time on it. Tomorrow's a fresh day with a fresh perspective. Maybe that's what you need to do. So yeah, it's about basically being able to find a way out of a situation so you're not trapped and you don't feel that you're being put in a position of an unsafe position, basically. Nobody wants to melt down in a socially awkward place. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with melting down, then melt down. But if you're not, then it's about using BED to get the hell out of there and do what you need to do to put yourself first. So I hope that helps. Tomorrow is the call to action, and then Sunday is the roundup, the questions, and introduction of the next topic. I will say, I don't know how many of you find this, but I am not a big fan of Christmas anymore. It's not really for me. I do get a little bit involved, but not massively. So there is a week dedicated to the C word coming up, and there's going to be some stuff coming up around helping you to cope, a blog post, and anything else. So if you've got any questions or top tips for dealing with Christmas, get in touch. I will put something up on the page and in the private group, and we'll have a chat about it. So if you've got any top tips, it would be great to share them. I'm wondering whether it could be worth doing a live webinar around it, because it is a big subject. I know that Jodie Day is going to be doing some bits on it as well. So yeah, I'm here for you every step of the way. I'm not suggesting or recommending anything that I've not tried on myself, and I know it works. So have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye for now.